everybody. It's great to see you all today. My name is Melissa Richmond. I'm the Executive Director of the West Claremont Center for Music and the Arts. And I wanted to start off by doing a quick thank you to Union Church, who donates this beautiful facility for us to use for all of our programs. We have a really incredible lineup of musicians throughout this year. We've had several. If you missed them, you can go online to our YouTube channel, and if you look under both the live and the videos, you'll see our last number of awesome concerts available there. Our next concert will be next Friday. It will be Burlington Taiko Group. They do Japanese taiko drumming. They've been working with us for more than a decade. I can't remember how many years offhand, but this will be the first time that we're back to sort of our normal public performance since the pandemic. So that will be wonderful, and that will be kind of a preparatory celebration because we're gonna have them come back in October to bring their 3 12-foot drums for our 15th anniversary. So hope you keep that on your radar. There'll be more about that at a later date. I just wanted to let you know there are many ways that you can help to support us and the things that we're doing here, including, and helping to keep events like this happening for all of the community to enjoy. So of course your donations help with that. Also, please bring friends with you, and also tell your friends how much fun you had at these performances that you've joined us for. You can also join our communication channels, which include our mailing list, which most of you are probably already asked about. You can also follow us on YouTube and Eventbrite, and that will let you know when we post events right at the time that it happens. But a little bit about the reason that we're here today, the Claremont Creative Center. So for those of you that don't know, there is this beautiful old bank building in downtown Claremont. It's been empty for 25 years, and it needed a lot of work. I say needed because we're about 75% of the way through the first floor renovation. They're going to start painting probably the end of next week. So it'll still be a bit, but we have been through the worst of the first phase anyway. Due to the impacts of the pandemic, we had to phase down from, instead of doing the 2.5 floors that we have, to just doing 1 floor. But that will give us a box office, a gorgeous performance space, and a flex space that we can use for event prep, workshops, lessons, that sort of thing. And the thing that is very special about that building, it's not that we're losing this space. We will continue to have this space, but it is right in the heart of downtown, and it's walkable to more than 50% of the community of Claremont. Which, for those of you that are familiar with Claremont and transportation and all of those things, and if you have kids or had young kids at some point, you know how difficult adding a little bit of traveling is. So that is one of the wonderful things about that. So it is a purpose-built space for performance education and the community, and it's right next to City Hall. So if you're not sure where 56 Opera House Square is, if you walk down to the police station, you have to walk the entire length of that building. We anticipate that we'll be largely done with the first phase construction in the next couple of months, but we have things that we'll be finishing up. So we're hoping that we'll be open for the first few events and gatherings in October, which is pretty fast considering we started construction on March 1st. So I wanted to give a huge thank you to Jose, who you'll meet in a second. José Lezcano has been a great friend of ours since pretty much the beginning of the organization. I think he was, yeah, you were on the very first concert series that we had back in 2008. So thank you so much to Jose for being willing to come and do this benefit concert for the Creative Center. And also thank you to Deb, who checked you in, who has been with us for a couple of months as well, and has been fabulous to help to increase the capacity so we can do more things better. She's doing a wonderful job. And I would like to thank my board, who helped with the refreshments that we'll have after the concert: Cynthia, Shay, Erica, Chris, and Anne. And of course, a special thanks, extra thanks to Chris for being our tech guru. So, my last two things. Please turn your ringers off. And if you need the bathroom, it's in the building next door. Those are my exciting announcements. Without any further ado, though, please join me in welcoming José Lezcano.
So the first piece on this program is actually only a second performance of a piece I wrote back in 1999, and then I guess composers do this sometimes. It just went on the shelf, and I came across it and I said, why have I never played this piece? I think at the time I for some reason I didn't like it. I thought it was too schmaltzy, And then we played it. It's not that schmaltzy. It's actually okay. So it's called First Light. So here we go. So we continue. We're going to play 4 selections I call Songs of Freedom. And the story behind this, there's a wonderful Cuban-American soprano, Sarai Rossi, who commissioned me. She received a grant from the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts for me to write this piece. And it's basically based on poems by Cuban poets who represent emigre poets, historical poets, and dissident poets still in Cuba. So maybe I'll say the first one, maybe I'll say a little bit about each as we go.
Sure.
Very brief. So the first one is called Adivinanza para mi hija, prediction from my daughter. And at one point it says, what does, how do you know if the light is coming or not coming? I don't know. I've never experienced it. So it's sort of like sort of metaphorical and sort of, it could refer to the fact that the electricity goes out a lot in Cuba because of the infrastructure. But it could be, we're comparing it to freedom. Are we seeing better days or worse days? You know, so it's kind of hard to say. So Adivinanza para mi hija. The next one is an excerpt from a very famous poet by the Cuban patriotic poet, a patriot of the both the wars of liberation against the Spanish colonial government in the 19th century. José Martí, who was also a originator of modernism in 19th century novel and poetry. Now, so the most famous line goes something like, for the friend who would help me, I cultivate the white rose. But for the cruel person who would tear out my heart, I also cultivate the white rose. So it's called, it's actually, the name is Cultivo una rosa blanca. I cultivate the white rose. The next one is by an emigre poet, and he wrote a poem remembering his childhood when he was going to school and learning all about the American customs, especially around Thanksgiving. His name is Richard Blanco, is the name of the poet. And so he's confused because he has to explain to his grandmother why there are pilgrims and turkeys and all this stuff. And so Cubans have a different way of celebrating Thanksgiving or holiday. So they finally have a compromise. I hear toward the end of the song. This Thanksgiving we will have turkey as well as pork. So. So the fourth song is based on a poem by a young lady who was a prodigy painter and a poet in late 19th century, early 20th century Cuba, and her name was Juana Bordelo, and it's called Intima, and it's a rather dark poem, so I don't want to read it. But anyway, so the tune that you'll hear is one that came to me, and I thought it sounds like something from the 40s or 50s, like from the Cuban age of Cuban music and sort of the boleros and all that golden age stuff. And I thought maybe that I was like unconsciously plagiarizing somebody, but my Cuban colleague assures me that she's never heard it before. And I had a lovely experience recently with the Buffalo Symphony, the Buffalo Philharmonic, that they commissioned me to write a concerto for double basses. And this is the tune from the second movement. So had to use it twice, so sorry. So Intima.
say a couple things. You can add something in if you
Sure,
want to.
sure.
So the next piece we're gonna do is two movements of the history of the tango by Piazzolla. It's a 4-movement piece, and yeah, it's kind of what it describes. So these are going to be the 2 earliest movements in tango. One of the things I love about Piazzolla's story is that so he was very active in this in tango. It's kind of his roots, even though he was an Italian. But as a composer, he was always kind of fighting being a tango composer. And then he was studying with, I think it was Lily Boulanger.
That's true.
Who told him that he needed to stop pretending to be something that he wasn't, basically. I'm paraphrasing.
That's true.
And do what he is, like what is part of him. And I just always thought that was a beautiful part of his evolution of, kind of fighting who he was and then coming up with some just really glorious pieces.
Yeah, this is probably one of the most famous pieces he wrote. And it's actually been transcribed for other instruments, which almost never happens. Guitar players are always stealing other instruments' repertoire. It's like one of the few cases where I've heard this done for 4 saxophones and the clarinet, piano.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so the first 2 movements are, he kind of encapsulates part of the history of tango. In the first movement, Bordelo, 1900, he showcases a period in the history of tango when it was really quite disreputable. It was danced in houses of ill repute by sailors, who were also bringing to the tango the habanera rhythm. So thump, da, dum, dum. That became part of the rhythmic DNA of tango in the early age. And then the second movement is called Café 1930, and by this time, the tango had had words sung by famous film stars like Carlos Gardel, and it was a slower, more romantic, and usually the lyrics were about "she done betrayed me." That's kind of what it was about, because these were all single men lured to Buenos Aires by the promise of jobs in industry and agriculture, and they just weren't there. Those jobs weren't there. So a lot of them were Italian, actually, as you say. And so the tango lyrics are pretty bitter at times. So anyway, so we'll do 2 movements: Bordel 1900 and Café 1930.
And listen for the police raid in the first one.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
play a short solo set before we continue. Actually, I'll continue with something by Astor Piazzolla. This is a solo called Ausencias, Absences. It's actually a Scarlatti sonata, but it's in the same key. Here's two Minuets by Fernando Sor. I'll conclude this little set with a piece by, not for guitar actually, it was for piano, by the 19th century pianist composer Joaquin Malats. And, but this has become much more famous as a guitar solo than for piano. So, Spanish Serenade, Sonata Española.
Stage entry.
That's right. This is Entr'act by Jacques Ibert, also kind of in a Spanish flair, right? That's a little bit of it.
Yes.
Jacques Ibert was a French composer. There we go.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound French.
Yeah.